There's certain players, like if clubs get in financial difficulty, if they play a certain amount of games, they trigger a new contract, triggered like an extension, and they might not want to keep that player. So you play up to say 19 games, and then they're just out for the 20th. So there's lots of like things that happen within contracts or within in seasons that maybe the fans don't know the whole picture. You know, it might be in their contract, but nobody talks about it. And that's the reason why he's been left out.
Is there a deal that you think could be better, but just doesn't currently exist? Like, do you think you could have almost a meter running on players? Could there be a situation where it's like you clock in literally when you cross the line and then you've got to go for it? Do you see what I mean?
You know, the role of a sub keeper, you know, for instance, like one, you know, there was obviously Tony Warner at Liverpool, his nickname was Bonus, you know, because obviously he's on all the bonuses but never plays. So yeah, I think it probably should be, it would stop players being happy to sit on the bench. I think if you're on the bench and you're getting the same wages as you are if you're playing, what incentive is there to run out and get injured? Or, you know, obviously you just appreciate that everyone has the same values as everyone else, but I've seen it firsthand. That's not the case. You know, unfortunately, there are players that, you know, would be happy to take the money, that are in football for those reasons, that would be happy to be on. If they're on the same wages, they think, why bother?
Well, you're still seeing a lot of how it works in various different football clubs. And you often come on this podcast and talk about the changes between when you were starting and now when players are starting. And Jermaine sort of hinted at this as well, I thought, was that there's a lot of young players, and we all know this as fans, a lot of young players on big, big money, but perhaps there isn't that incentive to want to leave that situation rather than progress as a footballer.
Yeah, like for instance, I lived near Chelsea's training ground, for instance, and I'm filling up with petrol and I'm seeing this, you know, kid in a Chelsea tracksuit and a big Range Rover, 23 years of age. And I think it was Ab said to me, you know, who's that? And I'm like, I've no idea.
Yeah.
But like things like I'm like, he's obviously getting paid like a lot of money, and he didn't look like really young. But I think there's sometimes you can get carried away with being in a lovely environment, playing under 23s football and thinking it's real football when it's not. And there is. I know squads are much bigger these days, and you need a huge squad because you play so many games. But yeah, you do worry that the kids who are like 22, 23 at big clubs and haven't played a first team game yet and are quite comfortable where they are, and you can earn a really good living doing that.
Yeah, so why would you risk that?
Or, you know, there's the risk of either going out elsewhere and not cutting it, or it's a really comfortable life for young players. And not all of them, obviously, but like there's a few that do that and they feel that's their path. I mean, you know, work for Phil Foden. I know Phil Foden's still a kid, but people were calling for him to go out on loan. He didn't. But I think that's different for a player of his calibre, isn't it?
Because he was in and around the squad. I think everyone knew at City that he was good enough. You know, he was the best player in training, which is incredible for his young age and lack of experience in a sense. But on the flip side to that, like if you're a club and you have these players that are staying at the club until 23, 24, it starts to become a depreciating asset. It's not really worth keeping them around, as well as, you know, them being there and not really doing anything.
Yeah, it's a strange one, I think. But I do think there's a place for incentivized contracts, getting players to sort of, you know, earn their money. You know, not just sit there and have a sort of comfortable life, if you like. It's, you know, make it uncomfortable for them.
I'd quite like to see that in football, actually, because it seems a shame that some clubs that obviously have huge financial resources can just have people, very good footballers, sat around. And from a purely maybe romantic point of view, it's a shame to see talent that's clearly good enough not really being seen or us being entertained when that could have spread around the league and the leagues and the world. And I know football doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's a strange scenario, isn't it, when players aren't playing? And I've been there myself. But I do think it's better for all concerned if there was something more. If you're in the 11, you're rewarded for that rather than, and you're obviously not rewarded for not playing.